Because I think even when I saw the first trailer, I'm like, okay, this looks like my kind of stupid. I'm interested in this. But it just, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Or it wasn't good as I hoped it would be.
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On Podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fitted in popular culture. Today, we will be discussing the Republicans' inability to impeach Mayorkas for like a thing they made up and still couldn't agree on. What's going on with the Republican Party, Cory?
Man, political systems, everything's bad. Everything's been bad. We're all gonna...
Nikki Haley lost to literally no one. People would rather have no one than Nikki Haley.
I mean, it's just like the same thing that happens every couple of years, man. It's just consistent bullshit that we're not really going anywhere. Just spinning our wheels, man. I don't know, man. This shit's, as always, depressing, and it kills me a little bit inside.
Hell. But
yes,
today we're not talking about that. We're talking about Argylle, which actually is a little bit of hell.
A little bit.
We're talking about True Detective Season 4, a.k.a. True Detective Night Country, and then we'll be closing out... Actually, reverse those. We'll be talking about Mr. and Mrs. Smith and then closing out with True Detective because we'll leave some of the spoiler stuff till the end. But that's two good things and one bad thing, I think. So it's all even out. It's all positive on this podcast, ultimately. Before we get into all that stuff, though, a couple points of business as usual. Do not forget to follow us at Next Time On Pod all over the place, especially over there on YouTube, youtube.com/@NextTimeOnPod for all these podcasts in video form, for all future video exclusives, which I keep promising, but I just have been busy, man. But I have some ideas. I want to knock them out after March, which will be jam-packed with Oscar stuff and some other special movie stuff coming for you guys. So make sure to subscribe to see all that good stuff, all of our coverage of that. And last but not least, we are announcing our first book club at First Curse the Rewatch of 2024. That is the book club Damn Them All by Simon Spurrier, which was... I don't remember exactly what number, maybe number 6 or something. It was on my top 10 list of last year. Very good comic book.
Very good.
Closed its run out in January this year, so we're going to be talking about that full run by Simon Spurrier. And then in celebration of, let's just call a spade, the worst holiday of all time, Valentine's Day, we will be doing Hitch, starring Willard Smith. Anything to say about Hitch starring Willard Smith, Cory?
It's just I didn't realize that Che hated love so much. It's just like it kind of seems like a recent trend of ours, just rom-coms.
Love Actually is supposed to be a Christmas movie. I would say it's neither Christmassy nor romantic. But if you want more conversation about that, go check out that episode, which is a banger over there on our YouTube.
I think it's just that movie made me hate love. I think
it should. I think anybody who watches that and doesn't come out more cynical than they were before, I'm a little suspicious of. I don't know if you know what love is. It's not manipulating your employees to have sex with them.
That has become my new silent thing to kind of judge people off of. It's Love Actually, and if you're really, really into Zack Snyder, those are my two. I'm silently judging you a lot. Bits.
Yeah, I think mine is Love Actually is definitely nearing the top of the list, but mine is The Boys. If you're like The Boys is my favorite show, I don't know. I don't know if I can talk to you.
Che, you can't dunk on The Boys fan.
The Boys is fine. It's
our podcast. But I'm saying you can't. We are a podcast about superhero comics.
Yeah, but we're cultured. We have taste.
Oh wow, that's a fucking bold take. Let's talk. All right, want to talk about our first... Oh, never mind.
Let's do our elevator pitch. I think also our first elevator pitch of the new year. Everything's getting back to normal after the chaos of end of year stuff in January. I'm gonna put a minute on the clock for you, Cory, and you tell us what the thing that you love is.
Sure.
And go.
Okay, mine is like a regular old book. It's written by Benjamin Stevenson. I believe he's an Australian comedian. It's called Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. The book's basically a whodunit where it's a family reunion where it kind of basically becomes a murder mystery as time goes on. In the beginning of the book, the main character witnesses his brother kill someone, and then he turns him in. And the book takes place 3 months later, where they all get together for a family reunion. And a man is mysteriously turned up dead on the mountain. And as the book goes on, it's kind of just this twist after twist after twist, and it's very, very enjoyable. It's been a while since I think I couldn't put down a book like this. I might have read it all in like 3 to 4 sittings. This is a really fantastic whodunit if you like Knives Out and that kind of genre, really. Really funny writing style, doesn't take itself too seriously. If you're in the mood for a mystery that doesn't depress you, I really recommend it. Especially, it's really good.
Sounds interesting. I do love a it sounds dismissive, but like an easy reader mystery book.
It's an easy reader mystery book with an insane title.
Yeah.
But it lives up to the title and like not in the ways that you would expect it to, which I like. That's what I like about the book. I thought it was going to be a very different book going into it. I think after reading an initial blurb about it in the back, but it's very different than what's expected to be about. But it's very good. I think the mystery itself makes sense. He gives you all the clues all the way through, but he doesn't cook you. Like, I still was surprised at the very end, but in a good way. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I haven't read that book, but I'll certainly pick it up. Of a similar ilk, I've been enjoying the Thursday Murder Club books, which are.
It seems like I saw a lot of lists where people were like, what should I read after reading this book? And it's a Thursday. It's that series. Even you recommended it to me, and it's actually sitting on my Kindle for me to start.
They're good. It's good characters. I like Richard Osman's writing. I would not say it's high literature. I like to read them alongside. I've been, I finally started Interior Chinatown, which the show for that's coming out soon. So I was trying to crush the book before the show, which I'm really enjoying. Charles Yu's prose is fantastic. He's got a great sense of
yeah. I've been reading that along Burnham Wood, which is kind of more an examination on hipsters and activism and kind of cynicism around that, which I feel like that's a bit more intellectual than all the murder mysteries and everyone in my family is a little crazy.
For sure. All right, I'll put a minute on the clock for me. I am pitching a television show, Expats, based on the book of the same name. Hold on, let me just quickly double check that. Wasting my time here, but I think the book is called Expatriates by Janice Y.K. Lee. I haven't read the book. Shocker, based on the intro to this pitch. But I think this show starring Nicole Kidman has been start out really strong. First few episodes, I was kind of wary of the show because the Nicole Kidman television experience, although I think she's a great actress, that her television endeavors have not been super successful to date, in my opinion. But I think she's really, really well used in this show, and the mystery aspect to it. I'm actually pitching 2 mysteries this time. I didn't even think about that. The mystery aspect to it and the interweaving stories and the performances, really, really good. It's over there on Amazon Prime, which you all probably have, so that you can order toilet paper. So an easy watch. Really recommended. I think we're 3 episodes in of 6, so plenty of time to catch up before it closes out.
I very much want to get rid of Amazon, but they keep putting stuff out. But
yeah,
as soon as the ads start interrupting me, like sincerely, I'm out. I think that's my first. I'm done with them.
I paid the $3 a month. I bit that bullet. I'm also. I've come to really despise a lot of these streaming services. I know I've been talking about the guide to streaming services I've been planning for a while, but every time I go out to start writing it, some new thing comes, and I'm so sure Peacock is going to be absorbed by somebody after the Olympics that I'm just not. I'm going to wait. I think they're waiting out the Olympics this year, which I think
Paramount's going to get absorbed by somebody.
I think so. I thought so too, but also the thing about Paramount Plus is it wouldn't shock me because they've got all the silent majority shows that, like, I've never met a single human being that watches Young Sheldon or NCIS, but apparently everyone watches Young Sheldon and NCIS, and those are on Paramount Plus. So, like, I don't know. Maybe Paramount Plus is really successful and I just don't know it.
But I made the observation that Young Sheldon is basically white smart guy, and No one. Like I was like, everyone's like, what the fuck, Smart Guy? I'm
Smart
like,
Guy
you
is
are-
a show that has been lost to time, except for like black guys between the ages of 28 and 33 in
I think-
America.
And I think even the 28 part is kind of pushing.
Yeah,
it.
they
I
might.
thought
We might.
even-
It might be like 30 to 33. We
Yeah,
might be on
honestly,
the tail end.
the really small one. Shout out to Taj Mahari.
Whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know, man. Probably
I
still
hope he's
rich
doing
somewhere.
all right. Yeah.
I'm sure he's fine.
All right, let's get down to business. Let's talk about this most recent film by Matthew Vaughn, Argylle, which is an action spy comedy, tonally very similar to the Kingsman movies, if you're familiar with those, starring Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell. Who else is in this fucking movie?
Bryan Cranston. Catherine.
I forgot Bryan Cranston.
He's in a lot of the movie. Captain O'Hara, Henry Cavill,
Cavill,
Dua
John Cena.
Lipa,
Yeah.
John Cena.
A lot of people are in this movie.
Samuel L. Jackson,
Yeah.
Sophia Boutella, who I like to see in everything, but she doesn't, can't really act no.
Does she have terrible taste, or is she just happy to work?
I think she's just happy to work. Have you ever actually seen her in something that's actually like that she's like good in?
You've put me on the spot, and I think no. Oh, no,
Exactly.
You know what? No. As we're talking about the Kingsman, I think she is, and it's not much of a part, to be fair, but I think she's quite fun in the first Kingsman, and
Yes.
actually genuinely pretty good in, I think, a pretty unsung movie. Speaking of Jodie Foster, we're going to talk about later in the episode, Hotel Artemis. Hotel Artemis, I really, really like. I think that's a pretty fun action movie from, holy shit, is it like 6 years ago now?
2018, yeah.
Jesus Christ, man, time is fucking me up. But I think she was pretty good in that. I'm with you in that I enjoy her presence in films, and I just can't put my finger on whether or not almost everything I've seen her in is bad because
They give her model roles.
Yeah.
Where it's like you kind of just, I mean, like the acting isn't really like much of it. You're kind of more just like either
Hard
she's
stares.
seductress, exactly.
standing in the backgrounds of scenes with
Exactly.
knives on your feet or knives for your feet.
I think she probably said like 10 lines in this film.
Also, she's the mummy in the mummy.
We don't talk about that movie.
That fucking movie is so shit.
You can't wait for the beginning of the Dark Universe, Joe.
I love how the Tom Cruise fans, of which I am one, I appreciate Tom Cruise's contribution to my favorite art from over the years. I love that they just do not acknowledge that happened. 2017, just nope. It wasn't a movie. Didn't happen.
It was the beginning of the Dark Universe, Jay. The Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm begging you guys, just do a quick Google of Dark Universe. Was it Hollywood Reporter? I bet you if you just Google Dark Universe magazine cover, it'll come up with the absolute biggest, like, calling for the fences, only to end up in the fucking ocean that I've ever seen in my life. It's
also
funny.
like technically this is part of the Mummy. This is like the Mummy 4. If we're gonna, like kind of like this has got rid of the Brendan Fraser run, and it's worse than the third the Mummy, and that's like kind of impressive. Like I like Brendan Fraser the Mummies. That the third one sucked ass, and this was much worse.
Yeah, this was we were still in peak everyone needs a universe when Marvel was like crushing it, and everyone was like, we need our own thing. And I guess who was that? Sony looked around and was like, damn, we somehow have all the rights to the Mummy and the Werewolf and Dracula. Let's do a universe with those guys. And no one said no. No one was like, hey guys, that's a shit idea. No one's gonna like that.
I mean the idea that he was the Mummy, which is, what are we doing? Let's not talk about it.
To be honest, I'd kind of rather talk about the Mummy than Argylle. But let's talk about Argylle.
Let's talk about it.
This, first of all, this movie is hardcore bombed at the box office.
Yeah.
It has been, I think, panned across the board by both audience and critics as a bad movie. I haven't seen anybody say they liked this, although I guess I haven't seen anybody say they saw this. But before we jump into the whole thing, what do you think of this trajectory of Vaughn's career? A guy who I think we both rated not too long ago.
we both, I mean, like, we would use him regularly in, like, our pitch meetings or our pitches for films.
For those of you,
a lot.
before we get too deep into it, for guys who don't know Matthew Vaughn's career before this, directorial debut, Layer Cake, which I still love, think is really great. Followed it up with Stardust, which I like
Stardust.
I don't know if I've actually seen Stardust.
I like Stardust.
Kick-Ass, which is great. The Debt, he did not direct, but he has a screenwriting credit on it. I don't know how much he has to do with that, but The Debt is a really fun British mystery movie. Then First Class, which I think is probably his best movie.
I think so.
And then it starts to go.
Yeah, and then Kingsman: The Secret Service, which I like better than X-Men First Class, but Kingsman: Secret Service, but that's in 2014. That probably is his last good movie. After that, he had Kingsman 2, which wasn't good. The Kingsmen, which was better than Kingsman 2, but not by a lot.
Yeah,
and Argylle,
but
which
had if we're just comparing moments, if my enjoyment of the Kingsman and Kingsman Golden Circle was a sine wave, the nadir is definitely in the Kingsman, which is the fucking Rasputin scene, which I never want to see again in my life. I don't understand what
the
was
Kingsman
going on there.
is also 3 movies in one.
And I don't know why it's 3 movies in one.
It's so weird because the Rasputin part was like, it could have been better. The leg thing is weird. I don't recommend going to watch the movie, but Rasputin licks Ralph Fiennes' leg for an alarming amount of time to cure it. Fucking weird. Then there's a really weirdly good World War I scene,
which gets abruptly ended when the hero of the movie gets shot in the face.
Friendly fire.
And then there's an hour left.
And there's an hour left, and for some reason, out of nowhere, what the fuck is his name? Oh my god, what's his name?
Digimon Hansu, is that when he shows up?
No, not him. Our guy from, we used to mention Kick-Ass. What the fuck is his name?
Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Yeah, and Aaron Taylor Johnson just shows up for the last third of the film, and I'm like, and then you're like, is that Aaron Taylor Johnson? What the fuck is he doing here? And then, as the movie ends, though, it's the reveal at the end is that Hitler was the post-credit scene, which is still the most insane use of a post-credit scene yet.
Which also isn't a surprise, because Hitler is from history.
Is Hitler.
And the movie's set in World War II. We know who the villain of World War II is. You can't be like, twist, it's Hitler. I'm sorry.
Like, oh no, it's him. We didn't expect this coming. And he goes from an assassin to being Hitler. I digress. But, yeah.
I forgot how stupid that fucking movie is sometimes.
The movie's fucking retarded. The movie's, like, stupid, but it's also, at some points, I'm like, I'm having fun with how stupid this is. Argylle.
3 years later, he follows up the Kingsman with Argylle, which...
Can I say this about Argylle?
Give it to me.
I rather would have watched a cheesy spy film with John Cena and Henry Cavill than this film.
This is exactly my point. Is there's 2 movies in this that are like they half commit to 2 different ideas. I guess the same thing that happened to Kingsman is that he has these ideas floating around that he's just like, I need to jam them into one movie. Either do the Henry Cavill, John Cena, buddy cop, goofy spy movie,
which sounds amazing, and like the little bits we saw of it were really enjoyable.
Yeah, or do the Sam Rockwell is basically reprising his role in Mr. Right, except for this time with Bryce Dallas Howard, spy movie, but also sort of a romantic movie. Either do one or the other. Don't try to do both, because then you half-ass both and neither end up being very good.
I think that's the problem. It's like, it seems like he's like half-assing both of them without like committing. Yeah. Where I can see both ways going in a different, like, I mean, like, let's say like a very cheesy, I mean, honestly, like, they obviously make the dialogue over the top and silly.
The writing is quite bad. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, honestly, it's like, if they just did the Henry Cavill thing with like actually taking the dialogue a little bit more seriously, that would have been fun. But then they did the Argylle part of it, the real life version of it, where it didn't really feel like it was going one way or the other. Where like I felt like the first Kingsman movie did a really good job of being like kind of real world, and then it makes the jump into being like the silly spy universe.
Yeah.
Where I think he wanted to take the real world and then try to jump into the silly spy universe, but he didn't really make the same jump. I felt like it was like it didn't really. I didn't go as extreme as I think it should have went. I felt like into like the silly spy stuff when they were treating it kind of realistic. Especially if you're trying to say later on in the film this takes place in the Kingsman universe. If it takes place in that universe, which this film allegedly does, why don't we play up the spy stuff like that?
I don't have an answer
I'm
to
just saying,
any of the whys. I will just say that I am with you that I think the biggest flaw of this movie is it neither commits, and this feels like a thing that's happened a lot recently with action movies in particular and action blockbusters that have failed, is that they don't commit either way to the bit. This movie is neither goofy enough or serious enough to be successful. I think it tries to straddle the line in a way that is
Which
like
is so
not
weird.
really effective.
Because Matthew
both
Vaughn
ends of
was
the spectrum.
because Matthew Vaughn did I think he's done the best job of making a really good over the top cheesy action movie, which I felt like is really difficult. And it's weird to me that he seemed kind of afraid to lean into that more, especially with I thought the one thing about this film though is I don't think any of the performances were bad, and I thought it was cast really well.
I think
if you had Sam Rockwell
is genuinely really good in this.
But because I'm saying though, but Sam Rockwell with Matthew Vaughn, in a Matthew Vaughn movie, should have been more insane as a character. But also, do you think it's contractually obligated that he can dance in every one of his films?
It's a pretty good run of him dancing and everything. I think going back all the way to much maligned 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, I'm pretty sure he dances in that as the racist cop.
Let's be honest. Before that though, Iron Man 2, he dances as well.
No. He's maybe does he dance in Moon? He probably doesn't dance in Moon. It's been a while since
I don't think so. I might not have seen Moon.
Moon's
it's on my short list. It's on my short list. But
I think Sam Rockwell's one of those guys who is, I don't even know if you can call him underappreciated now because everyone's been saying that for so many years. He's just great in fucking everything. If you haven't seen a movie that Cory and I both love from a couple years ago, See How They Run, he's so good in that too.
So good, yes.
And I shudder to think what this movie would have been without him in it. I think he saves so much of the parts of this movie that are really quite dire.
Yes.
I disagree with you slightly in that I don't think all the performances are good, and not because it's her fault. I think Bryce Dallas Howard is a good performer. I think this character is terrible.
Well,
I think this is a really poorly written character.
See, the thing about the poorly written character is that so guys, we're just going to spoil this film because no one's
and I would say you're not going to see Argylle anyway.
Yeah, so
you weren't going to see Argylle, so don't worry about spoilers.
So the whole spoiler, which is if you kind of watch it for more than 5 minutes, you'll understand and get the spoiler that she is actually the spy that they're basing it off of. But here's the thing about that kind of character:
it's one of the more unsubtle twists ever.
No, it was horrible. And then
and then there's 4 of them for some reason.
But when they do the reveal and then she's she kind of starting to remember things, they don't ever actually commit to either of them.
Yeah.
They don't decide, they don't have the reveal that she's this previous spy or that she's Ellie Conway still. It's just straddling thing, but they're does she remember it? Does she not remember it? And I'm just kind of, it would have been more fun if they just either they just committed one way or the other.
Well, that's the other thing is it's the whole thing we've been saying this whole time is that he has these ideas that I actually think if he drilled down and expanded on some of the ideas in this movie, that'd be interesting. I think there's an entire movie in Argylle that you could have made it into one thing, which is just, here is this author who is a pretty normal, nice, regular woman who finds out that not only is she a spy, she's an evil spy, and is not just betrayed her country, but betrayed her husband that she had forgotten and has just met and fallen in love with again. That's a really tense, dramatic setup that this movie has in it. That is the plot of Argylle, and Argylle doesn't seem to be interested in that at all. It says all of those things on screen and then doesn't ever try to resolve any of that. It's what
it wants to be is twist after twist after twist.
Oh,
and none of the and the thing about it is when you want to do a mystery or thing like that, you do want to telegraph it a little bit, or you want to at least give some kind of preamble before you get to it. And they do it, but they just don't hide it at all. You know that she's a spy. You know that she's an evil spy pretty early on. You know that Sam Rockwell is also undercover with that organization because they say it out loud several times. Yeah. But they like to treat it as oh, this is a secret or whatever. It's never a secret. And they use dialogue that makes no sense in order to just send the audience into being this person's evil when they're not actually evil.
Yeah.
It just feels it's a lot of mistakes happening, and I guess now that we kind of tore apart the story, and then it just looked bad. The CGI was just like surprisingly bad.
I think
I think it only had one good. It only had one good fight scene in it, I think, in my opinion.
What is the good fight scene? Because I have this down in my notes that I wrote.
The train.
A scene. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was thinking you were going to say there was a scene that you liked because I think it actually is. No, I'm talking about the gas bomb scene, for lack of a better description.
The dance scene?
Yes.
Okay.
Where they're both dancing. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like it. I'm not going to say that I like it, but I
knew you weren't going to like it.
I kept watching it being like, is this a good version of this? It's hard for me to even tell.
See, I think it's a mediocre version of it. I would say that's what I'm saying. It's like I think there's only one good fight scene in it. I like what they were going.
I do like the train scene, but I think the train scene is undercut by the pretty poorly done editing. The back and forth editing is not good. It doesn't enhance the scene at all.
See,
and it actually must have been really hard to execute for a thing that's not doesn't really add to the movie at all.
No, it doesn't. It also doesn't make any sense because wouldn't he be John Cena in her mind?
No. No, because she's so scrambled that she's combined herself and Sam Rockwell into Argylle, but also Sam Rockwell is John Cena. And Ariana DeBose is both people.
Yes, which I mean, like in a way that kind of makes sense. Though. I mean, like that's the one that kind of.
There's that one off line where like the agency didn't need to alter the way you pictured her because she's dead. What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it.
How did the agency alter the way that Argylle looks?
Just shut up. Well, because Argyle's a real person, fucking apparently.
That's, again, what a stupid twist that doesn't explain anything in the movie.
It doesn't make any sense, though. It makes literally no sense. But going back to the dance scene, though, I did like that scene. I don't think it was great. But I think it's like, it just belongs, like that scene belongs in a Kingsman movie because I'm already in the silly universe.
It belongs in a goofier movie. It's so out of the blue, out of nowhere.
It should have been goofier because especially with Sam Rockwell as your like lead action character, it doesn't lead itself to being as goofy as it pretends to be sometimes.
5 minutes before that scene happens, a scene where two people are dancing through the halls with CGI color smoke bombs shooting everybody, and I can't remember what pop song is playing, but some upbeat pop song is playing. 5 minutes before that in this movie, it is revealed to Ellie, Bryce Dallas Howard, that she not only is a double agent, but that she's betrayed her husband and then shoots him with the, what do they call it? The artery gap or whatever.
See, that's some Kingsman bullshit though. That's the thing. That's some like all of that's like this is some Kingsman bullshit that I would have bought into, like if it was a Kingsman movie kind of vibe, or at least like I don't know. It just didn't have the silliness that like Kingsman had. I felt like I don't know. It just
and I think I kept wondering, is the campy nature of this movie also reiterated in the fact that like the twists are really obvious? Like, is the point that it's a kind of a hacky spy movie, or is that just bad writing? Because there's so many poor like.
Well, I think he knows every. I mean, that's like I think in the beginning where they're calling out all of like when she's like clearly we can tell like the writing's so hokey in the spy novels, like it's very clear that he's like this is. I was going
to ask you that. Is she supposed to be shit?
Oh, she's a bad writer.
But I don't think the movie knows she's a bad writer.
I cannot imagine the people who wrote the script thought that was good, like, writing.
There's that scene at the beginning where they compare her to the fucking guy who wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, whose name is escaping me at the moment. John le Carre. They say that she could be a real spy because John le Carre was a real spy.
It's like, I can understand, but it's just the tone's off. I think that's the biggest thing about the film. It's like the tone just feels off from what the writing is and like all this other shit is. And I don't know why that is. Because if you gave me the script, I'm like, yeah, no, give this to Matthew Vaughn. This is a Matthew Vaughn movie. Make it like Kingsman. And he just doesn't do that.
This script, but the thing is, we listed off the whole cast. And again, pretty star-studded cast. Full of A-listers. I would not say a lot of like Oscar contenders in here, but like big names. And they all signed up for this movie. So something compelled them to this. Now, is it to the point where actors are like, oh, I don't like this script, but like I didn't like the Iron Man script either, so I just need to sign on to all these blockbusters in case they pop off? Or did this read differently on the page than it executed on the
screen? I think it did. I think it read differently on the page. I think it did. Also, I mean, like I don't think Matthew Vaughn's like a burned name in Hollywood, really. So I feel like
no.
I think in the mind though, like, do you want to be in like it's like a different franchise? Do you want to try this out kind of vibe? I'm going for something a little different than Kingsman.
They really called their shot on the franchise.
Called their shot, and that's like
shout out to my boy who played young Argylle. You will not be seen again, my friend. I'm sorry.
that's the thing that annoyed me about the fucking about that Argylle thing, where at the end I'm like, I don't know what that twist means.
Yeah, it misunderstands the things that people like about these types of movies and these types of experiences. The thing that's really cool at the end of Thor: The Dark World, I'm forgetting when we first get the Thanos sitting on the throne. Is that we have a relationship to the storyline and these characters from not only just a bunch of movies, but decades of comic books. Nobody's fucking heard of Argylle. Now, they tried to release a book that nobody read earlier this year, but...
I didn't know that.
There is a book... They released a real Argylle book written by Ellie Conway.
But, like, it makes no sense, though, because it's supposed to be based on her. Like, right? That's the whole premise. Like, the book's supposed to be based on her. So who the fuck is this guy, then?
I don't fucking know. Don't ask me.
I know, but I'm just like saying, like, who the fuck is this guy supposed to be, though? Like, she already based it on her life. I'm so confused about what that guy's supposed to be. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't think you have the answers. I mean, this is my whole, like, I have there's stupid questions. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is Argylle? Like, because she is the Argylle. Like, that's the fucking things that makes no fucking sense about it.
It is a pretty thinly connected.
It's like calling your shot, but there's no basket.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I think a lot of this movie is like backwards engineered from weird places. I mean, we talked about this before, and I want to say this in a way that doesn't sound offensive because I don't intend it to be. But for people who have seen this movie, they will know, and actually from anyone who's seen the marketing, you will think that Dua Lipa is the star of the movie. Dua Lipa's in 3.5 minutes of the movie, I believe. She opens the film. She's wearing a gold dress that, let's be honest, she looks incredible in. And then the movie ends with Bryce Dallas Howard wearing the same dress. Shout out to Bryce Dallas Howard. Very beautiful actress. She's fucking pale as hell, looks crazy in this gold dress, but they put their star of the movie in this gold dress to finish out the last 40 minutes of the movie because Dua Lipa looked good in it for 3 minutes at the top. And I think that speaks to the failures of this movie in a nutshell, is it's all ideas and no execution, and all ideas that nobody wanted to backtrack. Like, nobody was like, hey Matt, maybe we don't base our entire costume design philosophy for the end of the movie because our star looks good in this thing.
I think also whoever the fuck was in charge of costume design, hair, whatever.
But I think he's supposed to look ridiculous.
I don't give a fuck. It looks bad.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
But why is he supposed to look ridiculous?
Henry Cavill looks really stupid in this movie. Yeah.
You made Henry Cavill, unarguably an attractive man, look like a fucking buffoon.
I think the bit is, look at how stark the difference is between Henry Cavill, who is like dressed up almost to a ridiculous extent in a comical way, in comparison to Sam Rockwell, who is like, when we first meet him, has like a hobo beard and Jesus hair and is wearing Birkenstocks. Is like,
I think that's supposed to be the point.
I don't think that bit is successful.
But why don't you just put him in a fucking tuxedo?
Well, I also...
Why give him the bullshit ass haircut?
The haircut's crazy.
It's a haircut, I think.
Can I ask a question that I know you don't have an answer to, but I just want to ask it?
Sure, man.
What the fuck is the cat doing in this movie?
I don't know.
I thought it was gonna play even like a single role in the film, and it doesn't
just a cat.
Matter at all.
Nope, that's just a cat. It's just funny. It's just no. I'm just saying. I think it's stupid. Oh man, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, and if this is supposed to be like, I would be happy to see. I still plan to go see Matthew Vaughn films. It's not like he's like lost me with this. Like, if there's another Kingsman movie, I'm gonna see it. I'm probably gonna be disappointed with it, and I would be really happy to see Henry Cavill in a Kingsman movie. But how does that make sense?
we're on a pretty tough run of Matthew Vaughn movies, especially if you include.
Why did he make a
producer?
Why did he make a prequel? Like, just fucking keep making Kingsman movies. Like, I'm so confused by that. Just make Eggsy movies. People like Taron. You don't even need to fucking bring back fucking Colin Firth. Just make Taron movies, and it's fine.
A lot of his narrative decisions since basically like the closing credits of First Class, I think have really confused me. I would say he has had some success production-wise. People really loved Rocket Man. I won't say it's my kind of movie, but Tetris from last year is like fun. He produced those, but I think everything that he's written has been degrees of bad, and that's really weird because I think, like we said before, I think a lot of his screenwriting earlier in his career is quite successful. I think that Kick-Ass screenplay is really funny and clever and brutally violent in a way that's really
here's my thing though. Should we have been concerned when he's like, you know what? I like Mark Miller as a writer.
No, because I think what's impressive about that Kick-Ass movie is that it's,
I know, but I'm
it's
saying
good,
though.
and
But I'm saying
the
though.
book is so shit.
But I'm saying, should we have been a little concerned though?
Well, but we've always said no, I don't know, but I agree with but I think it's an interesting point because we've always said Mark Miller is conceptually good and execution bad, and it seemed like Matthew Vaughn early in his career when he was working Kick-Ass and Kingsman had figured out a way to take those concepts and morph them into something that's actually interesting on the screen, and has now turned into maybe his own version of Mark Miller where it's conceptually clever. Like we've said, there's a version of Argylle, there's a version of these 12 different ideas in this movie that could have made maybe 12 different good movies, but maybe Matthew Vaughn is just not the guy to do it anymore, and I don't know.
I feel like this movie could have taken, like, if you were just sat in like a writer's room or something like that, or just like kind of thought it through a bit more, I think it could have worked.
Oh, yes.
Because I think even when I saw the first trailer, I'm like, okay, this looks like my kind of stupid. I'm interested in this. But it just, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Or it wasn't good as I hoped it would be. But I digress.
Yeah, I don't know.
Che, do you want to take a quick break and we can come talk about an actual good spy thing?
Yeah, let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I mean, money can't just make people appear.
Excuse me. I'm looking for Troy Barnes. Pierce Hawthorne sent me. Hey, Troy. Hi. I'm LeVar Burton.
Pierce got LeVar Burton to come here for Troy? Is there anyone he can't produce?
Now I'm really getting mad. Why am I the only one he decided to torture?
I told Pierce 1,000 times I never wanted to meet LeVar in person. I just wanted a picture. You can't disappoint a picture. I hate you, Pierce. I hate you so much.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right, time to talk about the Donald Glover and Francesca Sloan comedy spy drama again. Didn't realize we were doing two back to back. This one's good though. Don't worry, we're not going to shit on this. This is the Mr.
Well, honestly, Che, I did do this on purpose when I said that we should do it in this order. I was thinking ahead. I was thinking thematically. I had this whole, synergy.
I was blinded by my disappointment and dislike of Argylle, but we're not talking about Argylle anymore. We're talking about Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the 8 episode first season of Amazon Prime, which Amazon Prime so confuses me. Sometimes everything is just out all at once, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And then sometimes it's episodic, like Expats. And for some reason, Reacher season 2. And I can't figure out why.
I think this show benefited from getting dumped all at once.
I'm a hardcore non-believer in that in almost every circumstance. I think there are some rare cases, and I think very rare cases.
No,
I'm fine with it. It's whatever.
I think this is
week to week.
I think this is a rare case, in my opinion, because I think the first 2 episodes of this show the show gets better, I believe, with like each each episode, in my opinion, gets better. But by the end of the first episode, I'm like, I thought that was good, but it was fine. But I feel like when I got the tone of it during the second episode, I'm like, okay, I like this show a lot now.
I really love the first episode.
I
would watch Glover and Erskine hang out and do anything.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that, but I didn't really get that happening until the second episode. The first episode, I was like, I kind of get what this show's going for. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was that funny, but I thought it was like fine. But the second episode, I'm like, okay, now I'm like actually getting into it and like enjoy it.
There's some true like some of the funniest shit I've seen this year to date in the second episode of this show, where I think my favorite line is Donald Glover going, "Hey, could you check this for me?" Why? It's Gucci. It's so good. And I also I as people know, I am a proponent of Atlanta. I'm a big time believer in that show, and I've said on the record, and I will continue to say on the record, it is the greatest show of all time. I was really excited to see Donald Glover writing and creating in a show that was more narratively, like a narrative trajectory, like just 8 episodes of one story. And it turns out, and it's not a complaint, I was just surprised by this, that Mr. and Mrs. Smith is very similar to Atlanta, which is like really solid setup. 2 strangers get set up as a married couple to be spies. And then from that, you get episodic missions that get progressively weirder and funnier as it goes along, including early appearance by our boy John Turturro making 2 people lick each other.
No, I think that was the scene for me in the show. I'm like, okay, now I'm sold on this series.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that was more like, oh, this is what we're going for with this show.
Yeah.
And I think the first episode, I'm like, what is this tone? And I think that was my kind of, I liked it. I was like, this is cool. I like it. And I think it took it to the second episode for me to be like, oh, I like this as a concept. But I mean, as it goes on, it becomes like this whole, like, it's less about the spy shit. It's more about like basically a couple forming
relationships. Yeah.
And then like it's a relationship forming with weird shit happening in the background.
It's the same thing that Atlanta was, which is like, it wasn't really a show about a rapper trying to make it big. It was a show about blackness in America and masculinity and friendship. Is that I think Donald Glover and Francesca Sloan, who is the co-creator of this, who's also was a producer on Atlanta.
It seems like she's the showrunner of this.
Yeah, the showrunner. I mean, I think they're both billed as co-creators, but she has
she's a little bit more writing credits on it. I believe.
I think it's certainly her baby, and I imagine they both are quite involved. Because this has a lot of relation to the stuff that we've seen Donald Glover do before.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm not saying he's not heavily involved, but it definitely seems like it's a bit more of like. Well, I mean, she is listed as a showrunner, so I kind of felt like this was. It didn't feel like all the way like Atlanta, and I think that's a good thing. It definitely needed to be its own thing, but I think it's she's doing. I think they're both doing a great job of writing it so far, though.
Yeah. No, I'm 3 episodes in. Cory, you're what, 4?
I'm 4, and it definitely feels like honestly the most like realistic romantic comedy in the sense with like 2 people where it's just like the kind of like these they both feel very real, but also both like very strange individuals.
Well, I love the idea of these 2 people who were clearly, and like I said, we're both still early on in the season. Some people will have finished this already and being like pulling their hair out at us, hypothesizing what's going to happen. But they're very clearly 2 quite different people who have been thrust into a situation where they have to pretend to be romantically involved and then eventually get actually romantically involved, and the strain that might put on a relationship for 2 people who were probably in a real life situation would have never met each other and never started dating and certainly never been married and living together. But I mean, I like the idea of that here. I
mean, listen, 2 people put together by a computer is basically the algorithm that is dating app. So who are we to say?
But at least even in the algorithm that is dating app hell, you at least get some choice in the matter. These 2 people just walk into a house. Fair.
I'm joking.
I love that scene in the 3rd episode where they're at the ski resort and they're both talking to each other about like how they eat, and you realize that these 2 people who are doing something so intimate as like pretending to be in a relation, like married, don't know anything about each other.
I mean, it does go very much from like oh, we're hooking up to like they don't even sleep in the same bed yet. That's the whole like that's their first time sharing a bed, which is also very funny because they've lived together for like at least like at that point I'm assuming weeks.
It seems like there's a time jump between episode 1 and 2 that's maybe a few weeks, and time jump between episode 3 is like I would say a couple months, because it seems like they've been hooking up for a while at that point.
Yeah,
but it's not super clear.
There wasn't any kind of establishment about who we are, because what else do you say besides somebody who you're fake married to? Yeah. Like there's not really much of a progression, I guess.
I thought that scene at the end of the 3rd episode where she's like trying not to fart in front of him is great. It's just great. It's really great writing. It's both funny and I think really grounded and real.
I think that scene and also like the beginning part, because I couldn't tell who actually farted earlier in the episode, but I thought the whole like him getting out of bed and it was like, who's there?
Oh yeah, you definitely. For sure assumed it was him.
I did too, but it was just I was like, that's such a funny fucking way to like deal with that the first time around.
It's
but
even
the realization that he was just trying to play along to help her out kind of thing was very.
But it's funnier when you realize that he says he realized that she farted. He was trying to play along. To grab your gun is crazy.
Yes.
He grabs the guns like patrolling the house, knowing that that Jane farted into the bed is so funny. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the show so far.
I do think. I stopped after episode 4, and I think like episode 4 is kind of a good place to stop it. But I feel like that's a very good like. So I won't say anything to you, Che, but I think it's a very good point of like solidifying. What the relationship. If I was Amazon, I would have done the first 3 episodes drop, and then I would have done weekly after that. Because I don't think I'm in a rush to really finish the show because I am enjoying it. Just my personal like. I didn't think it was the strongest pilot, but I think it does work as a streaming. They wrote it as a streaming show, from at least what I can tell. But not at the same time, not being binge all at once, but definitely coming back to it pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. But this is kind of the direction I think that Glover's going. I think it's really enjoyable. I gotta go watch Pen 15 because I'm really liking Maya Erskine's like performance so far. It's like it's subtly funny and in like a different way than I expected. Her delivery of like so many things is just so flat, but also like what the fuck are you saying half the time?
She is very good in this. I'm a big Erskine fan. I will say that. And I think Pen 15 is quite funny at times. It's not my kind of humor also at other times. I would say if you like her in this, I wouldn't necessarily suggest you would like her in that.
No,
I've been told different show.
No, I've been told that it's very it's a different type of show. I've definitely been told that it is different than what this is.
Actually, the show that's more similar to this, and I think this show might be unwatchable now as far as streaming is concerned. Yeah, it looks like you have to rent it. But the performance is more similar to this. I love those shows. If you can track it down, highly recommend. Is her performance in Man Seeking Woman, which is another like sort of twisted take on the romantic movie by Simon Rich from 2015, and I think she's really good in that. It's the same sort of dry wit, but also buried under the surface is somebody who's clearly very weird. And the reveal that she brought her cat, I think, is low key crazy, and trying to pretend it wasn't her cat. And the fact, I love that moment when he gets it out of her when they're trying to name it, and she's like, no, I don't remember what the actual. She's like, no, I think it's a Max, and then he just goes, that's your fucking cat, isn't it? It's great. They have such great chemistry.
I think what sold me on the relationship is when they're trapped, they're like sitting after they accidentally killed John Turturro in the second episode, and they're in like watching the old cartoons. Yeah. And I don't want to ruin that scene for anybody who hasn't seen it, and I think you guys, because I don't think we spoiled anything yet, but
iconic scene from her, but yeah.
I think it's from both of them in the racism.
That part. I thought the racism stuff was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
She fucking baited him with putting the snuff porn on her laptop.
That was fucking funny. Like, it's like a deeply, I think like he's more outwardly like playing like, he's like Donald Glover still. And I think her character is like subtly but surely showing that she's a fucking weirdo.
Well, she tells a German couple she's going to shoot them with a gun.
Yeah, which is fucking funny. But I think it's like a same kind of relationship though. It's sometimes somebody's very like outward with who they are, and he's like an extrovert, versus her who's like very like introverted, but slowly as we're learning more and more about her, is even more enjoyable. But no, I'm really loving this show. It's exactly what I kind of hoped this was going to be when I heard about it.
It's still hard for me to remove the specter.
I think that's
Bridge.
I think that's a different show.
I think it must be a different show, right?
I think they changed the way they wrote her. I think it's a different show, but I like this version of this show, so I can't necessarily say I'm like what that's a different television show in my opinion.
I'm not necessarily complaining, but the more I like this, the more I'm like, would that it's just burrowed into my brain. I can't really remove myself from it to be like this show is really great, and I'm taking nothing away from Erskine, but I think that to see the Phoebe Waller-Bridge version of the show would have been so fascinating. Even just like the physical, like, how tall is Maya Erskine? Like 5'4" maybe. And I'm pretty sure Phoebe Waller-Bridge is taller than Donald Glover. And just the difference in the physical nature of that relationship, I don't know. It would have been. It's just fascinating. She is also she's got like a very biting sense of humor versus Erskine's dry sense of humor. I agree.
That's what I'm saying. I think
it's a very different show.
I think it's probably was like when they decided what the direction was, what the show was going to be. I'm sure it seemed like Donald had a very specific way that he wanted the show to be, which ultimately that's what we're seeing right now. Yeah. And I'm sure that she wanted it to be something a bit different. And I mean, maybe also like maybe their chemistry just didn't work off each other like initially thought it would. But like that's two big creative personalities in one room, and I got to imagine that makes it a bit difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I just think like it's like also. I mean, that's why I think it's also interesting to bring in Maya because she doesn't have any writing credits on it, so she seems just being there as an actor, but also bringing in someone who also show ran and created her own show into a new project. I guess that probably was also part of the conversation as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like looking at the writing for the season, it does seem like Donald kind of just took like a little bit of a handoff and let Francesca to kind of like lead it as it is. So the thing, like, I mean, like I'm happy with
our classic Stephen Glover writing credit on one of the episodes. I think Stephen Glover's really good. So I'm not.
No, yeah, I mean, I think he's good too.
He's written some of my favorite episodes of Atlanta. So I'm not complaining. Listen, if I had the opportunity to give my siblings fucking writing credits on Amazon TV shows, I 100% would.
Listen, man, you understand my feeling towards nepotism in the industry. So I don't think I'll ever really be like, yeah, I mean, I fucking love that fucking one of the Obamas works at Donald Glover's company. She definitely earned her way there for sure. You know, I'm just a little bit petty about that kind of shit, and I'm never gonna get over that, and I apologize for it. But
it's, you know what, it shouldn't, but it's just different when it's black people for me. It doesn't upset me as much.
That's when fucking Obama's daughter did it.
Yeah,
she's already rich. She doesn't need to do this shit.
Are you saying that you're not really excited for Brooklyn? What's this? Fuck, I don't even remember the.
Huh?
Brooklyn Decker? What the fuck is this guy's name? It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna cut all this out anyway.
What the fuck are you talking about?
David Beckham's son is.
Oh.
I can't remember what he was doing. Oh, he's a chef. That's right. He's a chef now.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. It's a chef. It's okay. Make food's fine.
He's
I don't
not
give a fuck
cooking
about
the food, Corey. He's not cooking the food.
What do you mean he's not cooking the food?
You know, I don't know what I mean.
Oh.
He's not cooking the food.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. All right, I had a question about Mr. and Mrs. Smith, though, so we're going to go back to that.
Okay, shoot.
So neither of us have finished the season, but...
No.
The season opens with, this is not a spoiler, it's the literally opening episode, with a reveal that John and Jane is like... It's like James Bond. There's many different John and Janes who work for this mysterious spy agency run by Hi, which is like... Such a bad. I kind of low-key hate the Hi.
A little bit of a spoiler, Shay. They named them Hi. That's not the name of the organization.
No, I know. I know.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that though.
He says Hi every time.
Just letting you know that though, because the next episode does get a bit more into the organization. Like, still not. It gives us more about the organization, but it's not. Again, it's not the focus of it. Because slight spoiler, episode 4 is about them meeting another Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And they go on it's like a double date with the two of them kind of vibe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds
But
interesting.
continue what you were saying.
Well, I'm wondering. So if we do get a second season of this show, which it has been critically successful, I don't know if the audience has responded to it. I don't, obviously, we don't know what the numbers are, but
We'll never know.
they'll never tell us. But do you think that a second season would be better as a continuation of the Donald Glover, Maya Erskine characters, or is an anthology show where we just get different John and Jane every season more interesting? Because I will say, I would watch 8 episodes of the Alexander Skarsgård, Isaac Gonzalez show that we see this first John and Jane to open the show.
I mean, I like to see how the season shakes out. I mean, I kind of felt like I knew where this show's gonna lead to.
Yes.
My theory is that
they failed. They got one of their 3 strikes pretty early on.
That's what I'm saying. I think they fail out, and then it's going to be like the next season's them kind of being on the run. And
well, that's. I mean, it's not really a spoiler to say. The first episode starts with, I think, clearly John and Jane being killed by whatever this organization is.
Exactly.
She says herself, "I'm sick of running. Let's stay and fight," and then they both, they die.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's like a little bit more of like probably seeing like this couple put to the test of being like in that consistent situation of kind of being on the run, maybe starting over in new towns and kind of shit like that.
Yeah.
Really, I could see them like, I don't know. I could definitely see them being put in a different situation. Maybe, I don't know. I would like to see this. That show could work, but I like the two of them so much at doing
Agreed.
this.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's my big thing. It's like, I think they just hit gold with these two's relationship. Very well done. But if they wanted to do like a season 3 or whatever in the same concept with a similar writing style, I think that could also work. You definitely could get more people to do things like this. And I think it's like a good thing with picking Donald Glover and Maya, where it's like you just kind of put these normal people doing it. And I think that's more fun of doing like Skarsgård, I forget the actress's name.
Isaac Gonzalez.
Where these two people were just like very good looking people.
But that's also
like,
kind of the bit is that these two,
they're both,
these
they
two
look,
supermodels.
They look like Brad Pitt and like Angelina Jolie to an extent.
Yes.
So I kind of did like that whole mentality. But I like that the whole normal people in like spy situations, especially people like comedic actors who have to play it kind of straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also Paul Dano's there occasionally, so it's just kind of
season 2.
Just there.
Howard, Sam Rockwell.
I'd watch that.
I'd watch
the shit out of that. I'd watch the shit out of that.
Especially if it wasn't written and directed by Matthew Vaughn. Shout out to our boy. We apologize.
Shout out.
Sort of.
But let's move on. I mean, I think we're going to circle back around either our next regular episode, the episode after that, with discussing how the season shook out. I'm sure you guys have already finished it and are just shaking your heads at our silliness right now. I think we're both really loving it. It's entirely possible that when we get to the 8th episode, we're like, damn, they really fucked that landing. But I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised.
Glover has proved that he is a steady hand, and Francesca Sloan, who, like I said, she's written. I think this is her first creator credit. If it's not, I apologize, but she's definitely written on some very successful shows, including Atlanta and Fargo, which I don't remember. I don't know which episodes of Fargo she wrote, but fucking bang.
I mean, the thing about these shows is, though, it's like usually writer's room, so it's like kind of like, it depends. It probably could be like fully written by one guy, but she probably was on writer's rooms for like a lot of these episodes and stuff like that. So she probably has been a contributing person, even if she's not been the head writer on an episode.
Yeah, she only has writing credits on 5 of the 8, and she has 2 solo writing credits, including Second Date, which is my favorite episode thus far, and then the 6th episode, Couples Therapy, brackets Naked and Afraid, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm incredibly excited for.
The Double Date I will say this. I think each episode better than the one beforehand, and I think Double Date is my favorite episode so far.
Yeah.
But just keep going. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna keep going as well. But
I'm really excited because I think they also got some really talented directors in here. Donald Glover directs the final episode of the season. Obviously, Hiro Murai, who I think is at the moment unparalleled as far as TV directing goes, directed the first 2. But I'm really excited for episodes 6 and 7. Amy Seimetz, who directed 2 episodes of Outer Range, one of the more unsung shows in recent years, but it's just like a really great television creator. I think she also did some creating, writing, producing, directing on The Girlfriend Experience. You ever seen The Girlfriend Experience, Corey?
I have not.
Both the movie and the show kind of rip. I have not admittedly seen the most recent season from 2021, but those first 2 were excellent. I think this show is like a really talented creative team behind it, which, as I've said a million times before, making good TV is really easy, and that all you have to do is get good writers and directors and cast and give them money. And it's also really, really difficult because finding talented people is the toughest thing in the industry, obviously.
Absolutely.
Anything else to say about Mr. and Mrs. Smith before we take a quick break and come back and talk about a drastic tonal shift, but still quite a good television show?
Nothing else from me.
All right, I'll be right back, and we're going to talk about True Detective Night Country. See you guys in a second.
Only just met. We're going to go look at a flat.
Problem?
We don't know a thing about each other. I don't know where we're meeting. I don't even know your name.
I know you're an army doctor and you've been invalided home from Afghanistan. I know you've got a brother who's worried about you, but you won't go to him for help because you don't approve of him, possibly because he's an alcoholic, more likely because he recently walked out on his wife. And I know that your therapist thinks you're limp psychosomatic, quite correctly, I'm afraid. It's enough to be going on with, don't you think? The name's Sherlock Holmes and the address is 221B Baker Street. Afternoon.
He's always like that.
And we're back.
So,
all right, it's time to talk about the little bit over halfway point of the
first four episodes.
Yeah,
the first four episodes
of the fourth season of True Detective, entitled True Detective Night Country. But what it really should be titled is True Detective Fortitude Part 2.
/ Wind River.
/ Wind River. Have you seen Fortitude?
I've not seen Fortitude.
This show is Fortitude. Which is fine with me because I fucking love Fortitude, but they just did Fortitude again.
It's fucking
down to including Christopher Eccleston as like a kind of a dickhead in both shows. He's great, but they just read it back.
That's who the fuck he is. I was trying to figure out who the fuck that guy was until I didn't realize that was him. I was like, this guy looks so fucking familiar. I have not Googled him until just now.
The most unsung of the Doctor Who's.
Yeah, so he got his one season. He got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I like Eccleston a lot. I think I
like Eccleston. I just didn't realize it was him.
Go goodness. But we're not talking about Doctor Who. Maybe one day.
One day. I like the new one.
Ncuti Gatwa.
He's good.
He's good. Cory, what are you thinking about these first? How do you feel about the first 4 episodes of this show so far?
Before I tackle, I think I liked it a lot. I like it a lot before I kind of bring up my negative points about it. But so far, I am digging the show. I thought it was a really, really smart idea to have this set in Alaska in in the nighttime, like the night days or whatever.
Great fucking setting.
Great, because great way to mess with your perception of what time it is, where you are, and just having no general idea of what's going on. I really like the acting between Jodie Foster and Kali Reese. Just because, as Che, we're gonna talk about a bit. Those characters are both assholes, but they are so likable as actors.
We are gonna talk about their characters.
That you end up liking them a lot. Honestly, I like them. I think the idea behind it, I think it has a really leaning a lot more into the horror aspect of what the show can be, as well as I'm a big fan of when things can be in the question of is this supernatural or not, kind of like the first season where it's you get an answer to the mystery, but are there supernatural elements to it? So kind of just playing a bit more on that. But so far, I am actually really enjoying the show. I do think it's in a weird place where we're at 4 to 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe we should be there should be maybe 7 or 8 episodes, but I guess we'll see how it ties it in at the end.
Yeah.
But I think so far, I'm loving the production value. I'm loving the way it's shot. I like the writing, but I think the mystery aspect of things is my only where's it going kind of vibe. But besides that, I actually am enjoying this show.
I think and we were talking about this a little before we started recording, I think the trick of True Detective since the very successful first season has always been that this show is not actually a mystery. It is a mystery in by name, but even the first season is more concerned about the 2 main characters, at that time Woody Harrelson and Matthew.
Yeah, no, it's you don't
their relationship and their development as characters, much less about the mystery.
Exactly. Like, you don't... I mean, I was thinking... We were talking about this in the break, where I don't remember what the mystery really was that well between... I didn't see the second season because everyone told me word of mouth that it was bad.
Quite bad.
So... But I'm like, I don't remember... I, like, loosely remember what the shows were about, but it's definitely a bit more about the characters of our usual main detective duo characters and how they're responding to the specific thing. I am invested in seeing, like... Because, like, the two big questions... I think they're two really good mystery questions about, like, why were these scientists outside? What scared them enough to death to kill them before the freezing? And what was involved with the original mystery lady, Annie K. So
Yeah.
I think those two questions are interesting enough, but I don't necessarily think the show lives and dies on that reveal.
No, I agree, and I also think that, like, I think the show is aware that it's not. It's the same thing with the Mahershala Ali season, last season, the season 3, is that I'm not sure that the show cared at all whether or not he solved the mystery. I suppose clowns on Reddit who will guesstimate about what the end of the show is really care about the mystery, but the show is more concerned about, and that season was about his development over the years. We had those three different timelines, or 3 different time frames where we touched on this his character Wayne Hayes and tried to see his relationship with aging and approaching death, and his relationship with, like, unfinished business. And then also we have the same thing in this season, which is clearly about people dealing with loss and running away from their problems. I mean, Jodie Foster's character has partially, not by her own design, but has been sent to the ends of the fucking earth because she really screwed up and is, like, become somebody who, and I was thinking about Christopher Eccleston. I love that scene where he's telling her that, like, literally, like, he basically comes down to say, nobody likes you. Like, literally nobody likes you. That's why you're in Alaska, because we can't get anybody to work with you. You've become so miserable because of your depression, your
and it's like it doesn't even seem like that's necessarily, like, about just, like, this loss that she had, which I think is a really interesting thing, because we can put together the pieces that she lost her husband and young child to some kind of accident or something happened. But it seems like it's not just hinging on that, which I feel like is so much of these characters. Like, you became a hard ass before this, but it seems like even before this, like, her being forced away, she always was kind of a dick. Which I think is, like, I think that's a better character trait than her being like, I'm just destroyed because of this. It's like, nope, she was always kind of.
Yeah.
But also, I do like that she's unabashedly a homewrecker. She's fucked everybody in this town.
Can you be as promiscuous as Jodie Foster's character is in this movie in a town of, like, 14 dudes?
Apparently she can.
Can you?
Apparently she can.
It is really funny. Every time they go to interview some other guy, it's like the wife is like, no fucking way you're at my house right now.
It's also that it's like you have to, it's an unspoken thing, like, every woman in the town hates her, and it's like, why do they hate her? Because it's like every reason. Just like there's always a reason.
Yeah. And is this a good time to talk about these two characters now? We've sort of touched on it already.
Sure.
My main complaint with this show, especially after the 4th episode, and again, big spoilers. So if you're not caught up, do not feel free to bounce. Thank you for listening. But I think my big issue with this 4th episode is after the, I think, pretty poorly explored sister character, Trooper Navarro's sister Julia is walks out onto the ice in this episode, commits suicide, and I would say the only redeeming quality of these two characters, Liz Danvers and Evangeline Navarro, is that Navarro really cared for her sister, and we see the only decent thing that Liz Danvers does in this entire show is when she picks up Julia Navarro, and then we have this character die, and now there's just two unredeemable, like far past the point.
What is the unredeemable? What is your unredeemable aspect against Navarro? I'm just curious.
I just think she's like she's not as outwardly evil to people as Liz Danvers is, but she's not. I mean, think about this guy who she just comes over and is like clearly in love with her. And it is also the same way that they're very parallel characters. Liz Danvers is like emotionally abusing everybody in her life, including this poor boy who I don't know what the fuck is wrong with him, who like abandons his wife and child at every opportunity he gets to come to work.
I mean, like, that's the thing, though. I think it's, like, less to come to work, but I think he has a horrible relationship with his father, clearly.
With his father, yes.
But I think also, it seems like his mother stepped out on them, so I think it's anything she's filling in, and I think she knows she's filling in.
Yes.
This
the line where after
role.
She coerces him to come back into work on Christmas Eve, and she says, like, that's a good boy, or that's my boy, is obviously wildly, it's very intentional by Danvers, yes.
Yes. I don't know if I think partially she's doing it intentionally, but I think another... I think about all of these characters, I think so far they've all been extremely complicated. It's like, I think Danvers is very much dealing with like the loss of her child, like her son, and I think she's taking that out a bit on young Officer Pryor.
I think they're sympathetic. I don't know if I would agree they're complicated. I just don't.
I don't know. I think they're complicated. I think like, to me, I mean, like, there's like the relationship they have with each other. It's like Navarro's this cop who really wants to do what she's trying to set out to do, and Danvers is clearly a cop who's like, for the most part, like usually wants to brush things underneath the rug, but for some reason this time it's different. I don't know. I think Navarro is like, I mean, I think the thing about Navarro is like, I think it's just hard for her to like let people in. And that's why I'm kind of looking at her character. So I think maybe that's why I'm a bit more sympathetic to her, is because she clearly was running from something, but at the same time also wants to figure out who she is. So whenever when like the person for like her partner, like the person that she's fucking, tries to get in close, it's like she keeps pushing him away because like she's not good with that. She has a sister that she like reminds her of her abusive mother, who she can't connect with. I mean, speaking of personal experience, there's nobody harder to deal with than someone who doesn't want to get help. And then now she has to deal with the fact that the sister that she's been trying to help for so long committed suicide. But it's like, I don't know, I think to me it's like somebody who wants to help and protect the community while also being a cop, which is like, I mean, in her mind already bad, because I mean, no, but there's, no good cop. But I think it's just, to me, it's just like she's trying to do a lot, but like at the same time having this nagging thing, because like on one hand she just feels lost from her community, but also one of the first things that she can see, one of the first times she actually was part of the community and witnessed like what the good can be done with it, that woman was like horribly murdered, and it basically was like not considered as like a thing. It's like, I don't know, to me she at least is a tragic character.
I know. I think they're both very. That's my point. Is they're both characters.
But I mean, I don't think they're. I don't know. I don't agree with you saying that irredeemable. I think I'm standing against you on that point. I think, if anything, I'm hoping that. I think Danvers. I think we're gonna get a bit more about her, so I can't say it on her. But at least for Navarro, I feel like there's like some hope on the other end of it. Like, I like her relationship she has with Matthew McConaughey's mother. Can't remember that character's name right now.
Fiona Shaw?
Yes, Fiona Shaw. I like her relationship. I mean, I like seeing how she's both an outcast. That's it, the character, yeah. She's both like an outcast, but also like finds her little sector. Yeah, no, it's his mother. He goes up to Alaska. They share the same last name. She also like very like, woo, I'm a hippie kind of vibe.
It sort of makes sense why I was like, why is Fiona Shaw in this show as like barely a character for 2 episodes? But
I think it's just, I don't know. I like her.
Fiona Shaw's great.
She's I was like, why are you all dressed up? And I'm like, you know what, lady? You know what? Fucking dress up. Just enjoy yourself.
But also the scenes just, they don't, that's the thing is they don't really, I mean, you're saying all these things that I agree with. I agree with the fact that
no one knows how to cook a certain amount of food for individuals. Like, no one understands how much food you need to make for somebody. Like, she would make a whole ass turkey for 2 people. Jodie Foster ain't eating that much turkey.
I think for 1 person.
More or less. Jodie Foster can't eat that much turkey. I think she's mostly existing off of spite and vodka.
Yeah. I agree with you in that everything you said is 100% true. I just don't think it's actually in the show, which is my concern with it, is that it's all backstory. We get very brief moments of Navarro having to interact with her community and having this like, it is the seeds of her being feeling separate and othered from her community are certainly there. We have that the birthing scene where she's clearly like, you get the sense that nobody likes her because she's a cop, except for Annie K, who invites her in, and then this only lifeline she had to the community is brutally murdered, and of course that sets her off on a rampage. But then in the modern era, we don't really see her interact with anybody positively except for her sister, who she's again much like, I mean, the whole point is these two women are so similar, is that her and Liz Danvers have like secluded themselves away from society.
She clearly likes the dude, though. It's not like she and I think the guy knows he likes her too. It's I
think Liz Danvers clearly likes all these other people too, but is like just not emotionally mature enough. I agree that the show is probably going to
neither of them have
in a way.
I mean, every true detective so far has just needed a good amount of therapy, but they just never do it. Like, that's just kind of the running theme against this entire show, though.
But I also think that like at least in the first season, we don't talk about the second season and the third season.
It's been a long time since I watched the first season, so
they're like human characters who are they're certainly tragic characters, but have like redeeming qualities about them. I just don't think
I fucking hate it. I disagree with you, man. I did not like Woody Harrelson all the way through in that first season.
Just but his interaction with Matthew McConaughey is you see these two sides of the coin. These two women are identical. They're two of the exact same characters, which is clearly the point of the show, that these two women who think they're so different from each other are actually exactly the same, which is why they're the only two people in this entire tundra that will talk to one another. Like nobody else wants to interact with them at all except for to have sex with them, and they're like being forced to drive around in the bleak snow on Christmas Eve together because they're both alone. And she has that scene where it's like, why are we all alone? And this guy has to tell her like, we're not all alone. Not everybody's alone.
I mean, that seems to be like what the theme of what the show wants to be.
For sure.
Like everyone feels isolated. And I think like the daughter feels isolated. Like, even though she has a girlfriend, we don't really see them interacting really. Even when she's like by herself, she's like,
well, the daughter character is just there to again show how much of a
they're not writing
it for some
reason. But they're not writing that character well because we don't know why she's such a. That's my thing about it is though, like as I was saying, like we don't know why. We see the one scene where she's like it's like both she's being racist, but also she's very clearly like traumatized about being a cop in that town and seeing like your daughter. Face in the same potential thing, but also like the scene where she picks her up. Also, she's a horrible rebel. You don't get caught spray painting shit, lady. What the fuck you doing? And then
how do you get caught spray painting shit in the literal middle of nowhere?
Like, what you doing? And then I think that scene confused the fuck out of me because they're also like, why you always take their side? You almost got charges pressed against you, homie. Like, what the fuck you talking about?
Also, she didn't take their side.
No, that's what I'm fucking saying. It's like that was I think that was just bad writing because like we go to the house and then she leaves and I'm like.
Also, to be fair, teenagers are fucking stupid. So
they are fucking stupid. I just kind of wish there was like, I don't know. I'm just hoping there is like a kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's also we're in a weird with these shows though. I feel like it kind of they want to like complete the characters at the very end, which is.
I guess I'm more pessimistic on the arcs of these characters because. And this was news to me up until we started recording. There's only going to be 6 episodes of this. I thought we were getting 8 or 10.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I don't know how we get these characters resolved in a satisfactory way in 2 hours, even like 3 hours if they're longer episodes. We have so much work to do to get these characters to a place where they have contended with the loss in their lives that have turned them into these two people that have really hardened and shut the world off. And again, I'm saying all this as like the characters. I think Foster and Reese are very good. Like I think their performances are really quite good. And actually, we've commented on how a couple of these the characters in the show are not really well fleshed out. I actually think their two characters are really well explored. I just don't. I think that this show needs more time to figure out why. Less so Navarro. I agree with you that she's less of a.
I think Navarro's more of a character.
But like,
I think Navarro's more of a.
Awful.
Well, Navarro's the main character.
Yes,
in the show, at least to me. Navarro's like, but Danvers is a piece of shit. I'm not saying like I don't think we're ever gonna get like a redeemable Danvers. I mean, the redeeming of this character is getting a better relationship with her daughter and letting go of a hold, like letting go of control. Basically, she's a control freak.
Yeah,
and letting go a bit, and I think that's kind of the resolution for that character. Not redeemed in the same way, because I mean, like I think the show is going to end up with Navarro and Danvers realizing that they're pretty much each other's best friends, which is another completely sad thing. But it's like it's finding. I think it's like in a way the series is kind of like trying to find family in isolationism. I think that's at least what I'm taking the tone from it is. Like Navarro's taking I keep forgetting her name, man. Fiona Shaw's like Fiona Shaw's like as like
Ingenue.
Yeah, maybe she didn't say it. Maybe that's not. It is Matthew McConaughey's mother. I think I read about it online. I don't exactly. I don't think that's his last name. Rusty. But like that's her like her motherly character that she has. And like Danvers is kind of like a reflection of her, like a sister character basically. And you know, I think we're like saying a little bit on oppositions, but I think at the same time we're also in the agreement that I really wonder how they're gonna round this all home, because I feel like in the first True Detective season 3, where like you did have Stephen Dorff as a secondary character in it, but it really was just Marshallah's television show. Where this one's trying to split the time.
Really like 3 versions of that character, which is kind of how we got the singular focus. If this show was jumping back and forth between, for example, this modern case and the Annie K case, then I could see us having.
Yeah, which I think the smarter thing is though, it's like we're not doing the time jump as much into the Annie K one. It's more of like this relates back to it without us being. I think it would have been it would be a waste of time if we just spent a lot of time with the Annie K stuff. But I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do in the next episode, so we'll see.
Well, I agree with you in that I think this show is thematically rich. Issa Lopez, who has written and directed all 6 episodes, I think has really clear things she's trying to accomplish with the narrative. I just think narratively, really just like the technical execution of these characters and their development, I don't buy in it, and I'm happy to be proved wrong in when episode 6 wraps. I just don't know. I don't see how we have enough time to. Yeah, I mean, there's so many balls up in the air, including this. Like, are we gonna resolve this kid and his marriage? I don't know if I give a shit. I don't really, but that seems like a big part of the show.
I think it's basically. I mean, he's gonna have to pretty much divorce himself from Danvers. I mean, that's gonna end up. That's what the whole thing is. It's like him, maybe honestly quit being a cop. Be honest with you, but
yeah, I think shows like this are tough balancing acts when you're telling a story that Lopez clearly seems to be interested in about all broken characters. Danvers, Navarro, Peter Pryor, and Hank Pryor.
Oh man,
Pryor.
God, that was so fucking satisfying to see the lady not show up.
But that's the thing is, it should have been tragic, and they've turned this guy into such a piece of shit. I hope his Russian male bride doesn't come to the airport.
I'm okay with that.
I know, but I don't know.
I was laughing.
Oh no, it was very funny. Should it be?
No, I think I think some people would go either way. I've seen people respond that they felt sad for him, and I'm like, nah. But hey, listen, you can take that from when you take it.
Well, he's another one who's clearly been broken, who has been partially by his own stupidity and actions, has been isolated from family and loved ones, and is trying to find that solace somewhere else. Danvers and Navarro are tumbling down a rabbit hole of 2 cases that are eating them up, and he's like, I'm gonna find this Russian bride on Facebook and send her a bunch of money and a plane ticket, and maybe she will fill the hole in my heart. What his son is doing, I don't know. I don't know what every move that guy makes. I'm like, dumber than I thought.
I think it's the mother angle. I think
sure, I know. I
think it's just the abusive dad looking for like, especially like an abusive mentor figure who does the same thing as your father but does a better job of doing it. And also, I mean, like some people like, you know, the whole I'm a cop, I want to do the right thing, and that's kind of the whole you have the rookie with the stars in his eyes situation kind of thing.
So we've talked about this show for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes now, and we have not yet mentioned the mystery. Should we talk about these scientists who walked out into the tundra, or do we not care?
So yeah, I think that's the thing about it is like I think the mystery or like the mystery question that we're presented with and like that whole thing, super interested. I feel like the first few episodes I'm like, okay, when are we gonna get some answers? And I think my biggest disappointment about ending episode 4 is we got no answers.
And
And I think that's annoying. I that's my annoyance.
Not just no answers. I would say no development in that.
I got more questions than anything else. Like, why does that guy have the jacket? Like, it's like I feel like what happened to the other guy who like hangs out in this like, I can't remember the guy's name. He was the engineer guy on like on the reservation land because they couldn't arrest him or anything like that. Like, where the fuck did that guy go? Like, it's like I'm wondering where they're taking that aspect of the show, and I'm interested. And I mean, I'm interested. I'm not saying it's going to make or break my entire thoughts on the show necessarily, but I would like some explanation, please.
I agree. I also think, like I said up top, I don't think True Detective has ever really been a whodunit, and I think people
it's not.
Who did like the amount of Reddit sleuthing for the first season of True Detective is what turned me off to the internet forever. I was like, you fucking people have lost your mind about what you think this show is. And then they all got like so disappointed when like the Yellow King wasn't fucking Beelzebub or whatever the fuck they thought it was going to be. It's the same, but thematically if the show is in line with the previous seasons of True Detective and Fortitude, which again, it is Fortitude, is that there's going to be a lot of hints that this show is, that the explanation is going to be supernatural, and then it will not be. The same way it wasn't supernatural in the first season, and probably wasn't supernatural in the third season. The third season is much more open-ended.
Well, I think it's kind of like the way that it is with, like, at least my interpretation of the first season of True Detective, where it's like, it's not supernatural, but it could be. But we don't exactly, I think it's like kind of treads that line, in my opinion, where like, you can believe that it's supernatural, you could believe like, realistically, I mean, I personally believe there's some fucky shit out there, but like you can't prove it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where this season's gonna lead into, where like it will be proved with a logical standpoint, but also there's some fucky shit going on. Like, how did she find the bodies in the first place? Like, I think it's gonna be kind of that mentality.
Yeah, and this is obviously more of a horror show than that has been in the past. Lots of jump scares. For several episodes, and then lots of people walking into dark rooms. The horror stuff is never really. I don't care for it or about it at all. But I do think it's actually well crafted. I think Lopez is actually pretty has a pretty.
I would like
with the horror.
I would like to see her do a horror film. I hope it's no more jump scares, because I think that's cheap horror. And fuck you for that scene.
She has done a few horror films, I think.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Mostly Spanish language. She's a Mexican director, from what I think. Tigers Are Not Afraid, I think, is her biggest movie. I will not.
I was looking up online, and it was like -9 degrees when they were filming this show, and I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Listen, that shit sucks.
I think the best part of this show is the setting.
The setting is the best part,
and it really feels like. I mean, that scene where Navarro's sister Julia is walking outside, and we see the real concern on Danvers' face. She's like, I have to get a coat on this girl, basically. You don't really feel how. I mean, obviously, the show starts with 6 people getting frozen to a solid block, so we know it's cold. But like,
yeah, I very much hope for that actress's sake that was on a soundstage.
I think it would have to be. I don't think
I
you
hope
can
so.
walk outside without clothes for in -9 degrees.
Listen, as someone who almost got fucking hypothermia, that shit is not bueno.
No, you don't want that.
No, it's not fun. Fucking bathtub scene is like, I fucking relate to that shit hard.
I'm still we didn't talk about the hypothermia in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is hilarious.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about. Yes.
And he's like, what if you put it in your mouth?
So fucking funny.
Fucking died laughing. I still am enjoying the show. I am cautiously optimistic about the conclusion. I just wish. I think we've sort of like too far corrected the other direction. Is like, shows used to be 24 episodes a year, which they absolutely never needed to be, and now I feel like too often I'm saying.
I think it's budgeting.
No, it's absolutely budgeting, but also
budgeting.
Then just make a movie. Make a 2-hour movie.
But nobody wants to make. It's like, it's a weird thing right now where like no one wants to make like a movie like this really anymore. But it's a weird sell. I don't understand the industry right now. At least people who are throwing money at things don't really understand it.
Yeah.
People would tune into 8 episodes of this. I think so, but like, I don't know.
It's entirely possible that we are assigning a reasoning to this that's not true. Like maybe Issa Lopez was like, I have 6 hours of television to tell the story in because it's going to take me 6 hours to tell this story. And we'll see. Listen, like I said, we have 2 hours. The next episode is dropping early because we have the Super Bowl between. No, don't tell me. I got this.
You got it.
It's between the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers.
It's Lions are in the same division as the 49ers. It's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the 49ers. So you halfway there.
I was pretty close.
You were close.
For me, a man who hasn't watched a football game since the first half, right before Beyonce started performing in that Super Bowl. And then I went to go get drinks with this person and then never watched a football game again. When was that?
I don't, dude. I wish I could tell you I know by halftime performances.
Aren't you a football fan? What's going on?
I don't remember
here?
halftime performances.
This year it's Usher. I do know that because I got in an argument with
I'm really happy
lesbians about how Usher is not good at making music, and they got very offended. And
I'm just happy. I'm just really happy that like I'm actually for once in a while I'm actually going to like a Super Bowl party and I'm like, oh, it's cool. I don't actually have to give a shit about the halftime show this year. Like I don't need to watch that.
People love that shit, man.
Also, the commercials fucking suck now, so that's besides the point. But all right, let's wrap this shit up.
Any predictions for the conclusion of the show?
That's what I would say though. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm usually listen.
And is that because we're not paying attention, or because we haven't got enough information? Because I feel like it's
not enough information. Not enough information.
Yeah.
You know me, Che. I'm a fucking like. I think they're breaking a lot of mystery rules right now. They're breaking a lot of mystery rules right now. But just
well, in theory, we've seen the culprit.
Yes.
If the culprit isn't. My one prediction will be that this is not going to be supernatural. I will say that it will not be supernatural.
It will have a logical conclusion with some fuckery. That's my prediction.
And just because he's probably he's the only sort of famous guy in the first is going to be the Raymond Clark character, right? Because he's the one that escaped.
Yeah.
He played by Owen McDonald, who people will probably most recognize from being in Killing Eve.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing about
the throat.
The thing about True Detective though is like it's not a whodunit, because if there was a whodunit, we would have gotten more hints along the way.
For sure.
So I think that's my
even the first season is like you see like the Yellow King mowing a lawn or something in the background of one episode early on, but then he just pops up. They open up like a, I don't remember exactly, but he just pops up in the 5th episode, and then by the end of the show, he's the villain. I think these shows are about the characters, which I think
it is about the characters.
What the resolution will be. The resolution is going to be about Navarro and Danvers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's about them, and it's about the setting. True Detective Night Country. And I know they had to add on the Night Country part because of the asshole creator. But I think it is about
Nick Pizzolatto.
Yeah, and his little pissy fit about.
To me, I mean, it does seem like he's a bit of a dickhead for sure.
Yeah.
But I also agree that if I made a thing and then I wasn't part of the thing anymore, change the name.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an anthology series. I don't think it's that deep.
It is an anthology series, but he's really one of the first people that pioneered the movement in TV to have people directing and writing the same.
It just seems like it's not for the right reasons. I think that's why he's annoyed. That's why I'm kind of.
Oh, he seems like a real. I mean, the whole the It stuff was super weird. Like he seems like a real dickhead. I'm just saying, in a vacuum. If I make a thing, it's my thing.
I would not mention it if I did not think he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's all I got to say. Che, you got anything else for the episode?
No, we'll be back talking about, we didn't really talk about what we're going to do next, but just a reminder, we have a ton of Oscar coverage coming for you guys in the next few weeks. Oscars are in like less than a month. Can that be true? No, there's no fucking way, right? Hold on. Let me quickly. Oscars are in slightly more than a month, which is very worrying as somebody who has a lot of work to do on them and hasn't done any work yet. But we'll be doing a lot of coverage on those. Obviously, don't forget, if you're reading along, which you should be, we're doing Damn Them All by Simon Spurrier in the next few weeks. Probably this will drop in March, just because, like I said, we've got a ton of Oscar stuff to do. And then is a celebration of the festivities for Valentine's Day. We'll be doing Hitch. starring Willard Smith, directed by Andy Tennant, who I will not pretend to know his other work. But that's what's coming up for you guys. And don't forget, follow us at Next Time On Pod all over the place, including over there on YouTube. If you haven't already, go drop a subscribe, go drop a like. We got a lot of good stuff over there. Anything else for the people, Corey?
Nothing else from me.
I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.